Welcome to Horror Review Sunday. Let's talk about one of the many slashers that came out in 1981, and that is Jimmy Huston's Final Exam. I got the Shout Factory Blu-ray for only about 15 bucks. So if you want it, you can find it on Amazon for that price. Now, do I recommend it? Let's find out. So, this movie, like I said, came out in 1981, and it has basically all the tropes and cliches of an early 80s slasher. You got a group of stereotypical college kids doing pranks on this small college campus, and they're getting bumped off one by a motiveless, maskless killer. And that's it. That's the plot. Kids getting bumped off one by one. Who will survive? Probably the virgin girl, right? You guessed it. This is not the first time I've seen this movie. I saw it a couple of years ago or early 2020. Was not a fan of it at all. Then I watched it again for my 1981 ranking when I ranked my top 10 favorite horror movies that year. And I went up slightly on that watch. And then I watched the commentary. And that was the most I enjoyed the movie. It was just fun to listen to the actors and actresses reminisce. So it has a good commentary track. And then I watched it a fourth time for this review. So I've seen it 4 times now. And while my thoughts have they've gone up since my first viewing, I still am not crazy about this movie. There is just too many missed opportunities. This could have been way better. But before we go into negative territory, let's talk about the positive things. The things I liked about this movie, I liked the piano riff, the score, and the opening over the credits. And I do like that the killer has no motive. There's some other things about the killer I don't like, but one thing I like about the killer is that he has no motive. He is just a psychopath killing for absolutely no reason whatsoever. And I do like some of the characters in this movie, like Wildman and Radish. Yeah, they're very stereotypical. You got the jock who's picking on the nerdy kid, and you got the final girl virgin who's studying and not preoccupied by boys, have sex. Like you got the slutty girl who's banging the professor. And then you got this other nerdy girl, and like they're all very stereotypical. But the ones that stand out, the ones that are entertaining on screen, are Radish and Wildman. This movie has a fairly high body count, but only one kill really stands out, and that's the weight kill in the weight room. Wraps the handle cord around the guy's neck and it like pulls him back, snaps his neck. And I love that the scoreboard changes from 0 to 1 on the guest side. So I thought that was funny. It would have been kind of cool if he kept doing that throughout the movie. It just kept going up a point each time he killed. And I really like the setting, how it's just the one girl and it's dark, all the lights are off, it's late at night, and she's just all alone running away from this madman. And I think they really capture the college atmosphere and vibes with all the kids pulling their pranks and shit. I really enjoyed all the stuff in the middle from the kids mainly. When it was a slasher movie, I wasn't really into it because it's just a tame, mediocre slasher at best. But when it was a like college, comedy movie with just the kids being kids, that's the stuff I really enjoyed the most. And lastly, I really like how the final girl fights back at the end. She's not like a Laurie Strode or something. She actually puts up a decent fight. She stabs the guy. She's whacking him with like a 2x4, and then she has like a Tommy Jarvis moment at the end. So she's not no wimp. All right, she stands up for herself, and that's what I look for in a final girl. As for my dislikes, I wish that they would have hired somebody else to play this killer. I don't think he has any intimidation at all. He's not scary. He's not disfigured or anything. He's not ugly. He just looks like a normal dude, and he's just kind of got like a dorky haircut. Like, I don't like his look. He's just got like this green shirt on, blue jeans, and just the way he walks, his movements, how he stabs is very wimpy, like just really slow. Like the final girl at the end actually like puts some fucking weight into it and is like stabbing him. He's just like like he's emotionless because he's a motiveless killer. He's just doing it for shits and giggles, I guess. So there's no real emotion there when he's stabbing. And I wish they would have threw like a mask on the guy. Maybe that would have made him look scarier, more creepy, because his face isn't scary to me. It's just a normal face. And they should have made it like a whodunit, a mystery, have some red herrings, because they kind of make Radish look like a red herring because he's constantly talking about psychos. He's got horror posters in his wall. He's all about serial killers, so it's like they're making him look like a red herring, but at the same time, they keep showing you the killer's face and how tall he is. He's way bigger than Radish, so it can't be Radish. But they should have made it a mystery. That way, you're more engaged in the story, trying to figure out who it could be. It could be Radish because he's into serial killers. It could be Wild Man because he's a wild man. It could be this fucking sheriff who seems to have a history at this college. He used to go there and he doesn't like the staff there. He hates the coach and he has like dirt on him and stuff. Like he brings up embarrassing facts about him. Like he just seems like he could be a red herring if this was a mystery. So it should have had that going for it, but no, they show you who the killer is from the open, and those kills in the open and the kills throughout most of the movie are very lame. They're cutaway, off camera completely to the point where you don't even see like aftermath. Like there's 2, 3 characters that just get pulled off, off frame, and you never see what happened to them. Did they get stabbed? I'm guessing that's what happened, but you don't know. It's all in your mind. And in 1981, when slashers were getting gorier and gorier, this one just stands out as a very tame one in comparison. It's very tame. And if you're not going to have gore, at least have more tension and suspense building in this movie. Have more of a presence for the killer in the movie. Have him be in the movie more. Like sprinkle him throughout, like they did Michael Myers in Halloween, where he's constantly in the corner of the main girl's eyes, like out the window. Like they try to like recreate that moment in this movie with him being out the window looking towards the final girl's dorm room, but she never sees him. So it's just us, the audience, seeing outside, seeing the killer, but she can't see him, so it has no effect on her. She's not constantly thinking about that weirdo outside. She doesn't know that there's a killer on campus until the third act when she's the final girl. And they could have thrown in some more kills in this movie by having the professor who's banging college kids, have him die because he's a scumbag. Why didn't he get killed? He was supposed to meet this girl in the art room, but he never does, and we never find out what the fuck happened to him. Why did he ditch her? Did he just go back to his wife, I guess? Like, what the hell? He could have been a kill. That Don Knotts looking fucking security guard, he could have been killed, but he's just passed out drunk in his truck. There's so many other kills we could have gotten, but they probably just would have been off camera anyways. But still, like, we could have had a bigger body count, and they should have been on camera. There should have been some more gore here. And this just might be a sign of the times. It came out in the early 80s, so maybe it can be forgiven, but this movie has so many tropes, so many cliches that it kind of bugs me. But these were all tropes and cliches that started around this time. But it's just overkill. There's so many fucking things like the worthless cops who don't show up because they think it's just another prank. Like, oh, stop calling us. We're not going to come help you because we think this is a prank. It's like, no, that's not realistic at all. If you call the cops, they have to show up. And lastly, the end music was a huge misstep. You do not end a slasher movie with this kind of music. I don't know how to describe it, but it's very like dramatic and mellow, like sad. Like I don't know what the hell they're going for here. Like it should have been something else. So final thoughts, I think this is just a kind of lackluster, underwhelming slasher that just missed the mark for me. It feels like it's trying to capitalize off of Halloween's success with the motiveless killer going around college killing kids. If they just would have had the kills be better and insert some gore here and make the killer, hire somebody else to be the killer who's more intimidating, maybe throw a mask on him, maybe have a mystery here, it would be a lot more entertaining. I don't see myself ever really watching this movie ever again. I did appreciate the characters and their goofy dialogue and wild antics, their little pranks and shit that they were doing throughout the second act. That stuff was fun. But at the end of the day, this is a slasher movie that doesn't deliver on what a slasher movie should. So I gotta say, when it comes to Final Exam, the highest I can go on this movie is 2.5 stars. It's fine. Spoiler discussion. So this movie opens up with the Lover's Lane open of a lot of horror movies. We got all the cliches here. The girl making out with the guy. She hears a noise. What was that? And the guy's like, "You're just hearing things." And this guy does not deserve this girl because she's like, "I love you," and he can't say it back. He doesn't love her. He just wants her body. So fuck this guy. And then he like puts the roof back on. It's like a convertible. He puts the roof back on, and as they're driving away, the killer slices open the roof and pulls the guy out with one arm. So this guy has been hitting the weights. He is jacked. He has to be muscular to do this kind of shit. But we see him, and he's not muscular. He looks overweight. He doesn't look muscular, but he pulls the fucker out of that out of the car, and then just starts stabbing him very robotically on the hood of the car, while the girl just sits in the back of the car screaming, not doing anything, not trying to get out quickly, just watches and screams. And it sounds like they're using like the same scream looped again and again. And we see the killer's face right away in this scene. He just slams his head onto the windshield like Michael Myers in Halloween 4. And yeah, so we know who the killer is right away. No mystery here. And why didn't he just slam on the brakes? He knew the guy was on the roof. When he's driving off, he should have just slammed on the brakes. Send the fucker flying. And then we get introduced to the professor who should have been killed in the movie. And he's talking about how he has a highly skilled sniper in the tower who's going to shoot any student who is cheating on the test. And then, after that, he says that he has a price, and if you pay him enough, he'll let you cheat. So this guy is just saying all kinds of shit that you would never get away with. And then on top of it, this scumbag, pervy professor is married and banging his college students and isn't very secretive about it. He gives her a photo that she has on her dresser later on. And then we get a scene that would never fly today. It is so goddamn ridiculous, and that's the school shooting scene. It's a prank. It's a fake school shooting. So they somehow have, I guess they have special effects people in their college because they have blood packs going off on them like they're actually getting shot. So they had this whole thing set up. They had it all planned out. So we're going to pull up at this minute, and you guys are going to be walking around this area, pretending like you're on your normal daily routine, and then we're going to come out shooting, and your blood packs are going to go off on cue as if you're being shot by us, and then we're going to drag your dead bodies into this, your quote-unquote dead bodies into this van and drive off just so this guy can pass his test. All this big-ass diversion so this guy can pass his test and give himself an 82. He needs an 82 to pass, and that's exactly the score he gives himself. Why not give yourself a higher grade? Just say 95, 100, but he's like, 82, that's all I need, so I'll just write that down. And there's no other way he could have done this. He couldn't just sneak in afterwards and write 82 on it, or like pull the fire alarm. That would be a better diversion. Like anything else would be easier than doing all this shit, getting all this set up. And then I love how the two girls, they notice the van. They're like, oh, we see the fraternity stickers, Gamma, whatever. So we know it's a prank. And then the one girl feels like embarrassed, like, oh, I should have known. No, no one would know. Anybody in their right mind would think that this shit's real. Why use your personal van anyways? That's stupid. For a prank like this, which is probably, illegal, it should be, why would you loan your personal van to those people when you're the most popular kid on the college campus? You're a wild man, for Christ's sake. With a name like that, everybody knows you. So they're going to recognize your van, and they do recognize it. So that was a mistake. And then the killer drives a similar van. He drives a black minivan like he's a pedophile handing out candy. Come in the van. I got some candy, kids. So then Radish, he calls the cops because of this prank. When he thinks it's real, the sheriff shows up, and he's more pissed off that he's even having to show up there and that he was disturbed during his break than the fact that there was these kids doing this awful prank. Like, he should have been trying to arrest the kids responsible, and he knows who's responsible by the end of the scene, but he doesn't care. He just leaves. And he's threatening to arrest Radish for calling. This cop deserves to be killed also for being so fucking awful at his job. He's like, oh, something better have happened. Like, he would have preferred if people actually did get shot and killed, if it was a legit call, he would have preferred that over it being a prank. So then we get this weird scene where it's implied that the killer snuck into the final girl's bedroom, took her chemistry book, and put it in the closet so that when they opened it, the book would fall out and scare them. Who else would have done it? They don't ever reveal that it was someone else that did it, so the killer went in her room and not only took her book and put it in the closet, but you'll notice that he took her fucking dinosaur stuffed animal off of her bed and put it on the other chick's bed. So he's just moving shit around for what reason? Then this kid, he hands his pen to his lover, and the guys find out, so because he's a pledge and it's a fraternity, they give him this punishment. They're hazing him, that's what it's called. They're hazing him by tying him to this large ass tree, basically naked. He's just in his whitey tighties, and they pour a bunch of ice cold water and ice cubes down his underwear, and they keep it in there, and it's probably very cold at night. I'm not sure what time of the year it is, but everybody seems to be wearing kind of thick layers throughout the movie, so it's probably cold at night. And that could give him hypothermia, they could kill him, and that could be damaging to his balls. I'm not sure what would happen to your nuts if they were soaking in ice cubes and water for hours, which it seems like he is out there for hours, because it's daytime when they do it, and by the time he's killed, because it takes his girlfriend fucking hours to help him, it's nighttime. So he's out there for hours freezing to death. Hazing, I don't get it. I would never go through this bullshit just to be accepted into your dumbass fraternity. One really interesting thing that Wildman does is he takes spray deodorant, applies it, and then sprays it directly into his mouth and then rinses it with liquor. This guy is indeed a wild man. So then Mitch, the Don Knotts looking security officer, the only guy who's in charge of protecting all these students at this campus, he lets the guy be tied to the tree. Like, he believes in the rules of the fraternity, and this guy needs to be punished. But not only does he let this poor kid continue to suffer, he also adds insult to injury by pouring his liquor. He's drinking on the job, too, and pours liquor down his underwear. What a fucking piece of shit. He needed to die, too. But then, later on, we just see he's passed out drunk in his truck. Did he die? Like, it didn't show any implication that he was stabbed or anything. He was just drinking and passed out drunk. He should have been killed also. The professor and him. So this dorky girl, I guess they thought she wasn't dorky enough and unattractive enough, so they had her pick a wedgie as she's walking down the hall to go get Janet to tell her about the hazing going on. And it takes Janet so long to get there that her boyfriend Gary dies because of it. And the killer, he, instead of just killing him easy peasy because he's tied up, he's just ready to die. Like, he could have just walked up, stabbed him, and it would have been more terrifying because he can't do anything. He's tied up. So the killer could have walked up to him and really just mentally tortured him for a little bit. Like, show him the knife, put it slowly up against his throat, really fuck with him. But he lets him go. He unties him from behind the tree. And then the guy walks around, the killer's gone. Where is he? He climbed a tree. I'm not sure how the fuck he did that. When you look at that tree, it's so big and like branchless. Like, there's no branches low enough for him to climb. So somehow this fucking monkey climbed this tree like he's Jason Voorhees and Jason Lives and jumps down from the tree to tackle him instead of just fucking stabbing him. It's just one of those weird slasher moments where they're thinking about the scare and not the logic, because it's like supposed to be just a jump scare. He just pops up out of nowhere from above. But when you actually stop and think about it, you're like, how did he climb that tree, A? And B, why do it? Another why question is, after he kills the guy and hides his body, God knows where, he takes his clothes, somehow got a hold of this guy's clothes that the other college kids took from him. They took his clothes and they put it somewhere, but I guess he found his clothes, took his shirt, and nailed it to the tree to show that he was once there, I guess, to the girl who shows up. She sees his shirt, looks over there, there's his shoes, they're his shoes, and then she sees his pants like further down the field. So it's like he's leaving like a clothes trail, like breadcrumbs, like making some kind of trail for her to follow to him so that he can grab her and kill her off camera. It reminded me of The Burning when Cropsey, he takes that girl who was skinny dipping, takes her clothes, puts an article of clothing on this tree, that tree, so he's making like a path for her. And that came out the same year as this. I love that Wild Man charges at the killer right away. He doesn't hesitate. When he sees him in that room, he just charges. Like, I'm gonna fucking rip you apart. But instead, he gets his ass kicked, and he gets kicked in the balls, which I did not like. Like, if this killer was so badass and could, defend himself against Wild Man, he wouldn't need to resort to kicking him in the balls. That's low. You don't do that, all right? You fight man to man, no low punches. You fight like a man. You don't kick him in the balls. What is this, H2O? You don't do that. But I love his kill. He like wraps the thing around his neck and pulls him, and you see like there's like so much weight on that thing, just showing further proof how strong this guy is, and just snaps his neck, and then the scoreboard changes to 1 for the guest. That was pretty funny. I like that. And then the Corvette driving dude, I guess he left his keys in his Corvette, which why the fuck would you do that? Because somehow the killer got his car to turn on to scare him away from his car. He had to be in there, right? So he left his keys in his Corvette. Why would you do that? But anyways, yeah, and then he just pops up out of the trash can later on and stabs the dude. And that's like the one bloody moment in the movie. We actually get to see the knife go through him and out the back. So then Radish, who was in Christine also, he had a very small role in that movie. I recognized him. Radish, when he finds the dead bodies in the locker, he calls the cops again right away without even confirming if it's real or not. Like, I would have expected him to at least check the pulse to be like, all right, is this another morbid prank from you assholes? No, he just immediately resorts back to calling the cops. And of course, it's the sheriff who picks up the phone and is like, I'm not coming to help you because I think it's a prank. So he's like, fine, I'm going to take charge then. I'm going to, solve this myself. And then runs to the chick's room, and the killer was just waiting on the other side and breaks through the door and kills him. But what was weird is they make it seem like the killer is teleporting. He seems to be in multiple locations. So as he's killing Radish, right before that happens, we see the blonde chick waiting for the professor at that one location, and she hears something moving, someone moving in the other room, making noise. It has to be the killer. Because then, like, Radish gets killed, and it cuts back to her, and then she's getting killed by the killer. So is there 2 killers? I don't understand. How is he killing Radish and killing this blonde girl at the same time? But I do like we get to see the blonde girl naked. That's the only bit of nudity we get in this movie. It's just a couple of seconds, but at least we got that. I wish there could have been some gore. But yeah, her kills off camera, they're trying to do it more. They do it more stylistically, like blood's hitting the wall, all the paintings. It's like the killer's making his own art with her blood. And yeah, it's more stylized. I love how the final girl, Courtney, when she sees Radish dead in her door that's been broken open, she thinks it's a prank from Radish. Like, you think Radish would be willing to break your door open like that just for a stupid little fucking prank? Is he going to pay for that door too when it's all said and done? Like, it ain't worth it. Like, no one would break your door open like that and pretend to be dead just for a stupid little silly prank. I just thought that was really funny. She's like, all right, come on, Radish, cut it out, wake up. Like, he broke your door for a joke? I don't think so. I thought it was really interesting that the killer, instead of just walking up to the final girl and stabbing her from behind, he goes into the other room with the piano and starts playing chopsticks on the piano to get the girl's attention. And then, during this final chase, you'll notice at some point, the killer's shirt goes from clean to bloody from a stab wound. Apparently, they cut out a moment where she stabs him, and I don't know why. I guess they lost the footage, or I don't know what happened, but yeah, he goes from clean green shirt to blood in his gut, like he was stabbed. And it's just confusing. Like, what happened to him? He got stabbed? Like, what the fuck? And then, we get this chase to the tower, and the fucking beer gut coach shows up with his bow and arrow, and then he shoots the arrow at the guy, and the killer just catches the arrow, and you can tell it's like sped up footage. But the killer, he's just so bad. He catches the arrow, and then I don't know what the coach's plan was, but he just runs up to the killer like, give me that arrow back, and then he gives it back. He stabs him right in the gut. Like, he didn't even try to fight him at all. He just like let that happen. He just let the guy stab him with the arrow. Like, what was he doing? And then, so yeah, then it's not the final girl who really defeats the killer. It's just the poor construction and the dilapidated building that kills him. It's so old and weakened, the structure. Like, this place should have been condemned and tore down. It's so shitty looking. But yeah, that's what kills him. Like, his foot goes through the floorboard. He falls over. The final girl hits him with a 2x4, knocks him. He falls like 6 stories down and somehow is still alive. Like, barely. Like, he grabs her. It's like a final scare moment. And then she just goes to town on him and stabs him a bunch again and again. And then walks outside, and then freeze frame, awful music starts playing. Awful. So that's the end of the movie. It's a shame that it had to be so damn tame. Like, the final girl doesn't even know that her other friends are dead. I don't think she sees anybody dead except for Radish. And then her coach gets killed in front of her. So as far as she knows, her friends are all still alive. So, like, they could have had like a Friday the 13th Halloween moment where she finds the other bodies of, especially that one girl, the dorky girl who was in Killer Party in '86. Like, we never see her body. So it's just so many missed opportunities. There should have been some gore. I already said it, but this movie just annoys me the more I think about it. Like, there's just so much missed opportunity. But there you have it. Those are all my thoughts on this movie. Let me know what you thought about it in the comments below. And as always, if you like what you've seen here, you can hit this like button and become a subscriber today just by clicking on my cartoon face in about 5 seconds. And remember, it's just an opinion. You don't need to get butthurt about it.